Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of The Deep Dive. Firstly, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and remember, if you want to leave a comment, leave it under the video, and if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. You'll be notified every single time we go live on YouTube. And if you haven't followed our Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, go and do that as well, because Harry puts up content every single day. This week's guest is someone I class as a friend, a very, very creative person. I first got to know about him about, God, I can't even remember now, about 5-6 years ago. So to me, it seems like he's been on the scene for a short amount of time, but boy, has he exploded onto the scene. Now, we have just managed to get the exclusive on 2 of his latest products we're going to be speaking about today. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest for today, the fantastic Mr. Christian Grace. Welcome, Christian.
Hey, what a lovely introduction. Thank you, Peter. It's an honour to be here, mate. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thanks for giving us the time, because I know you're really busy. So, Christian, as I said there, I mean, I don't know, when did you bring out Level 1?
Probably close to 5 years ago now.
So
it's hard to believe, but it's, yeah.
So I only really knew of you maybe about a year before Level 1. So give us a bit of the history of Christian Grace and magic, because for me, you've just exploded onto the scene. And I knew Andy would mention your name
right
before that, because I think you were quite underground. Anyway, you take it away. Tell us a bit of the history of Christian Grace.
Well, I was completely underground, in as much as I had very few friends in magic.
Right.
And I think it all started for me in terms of a career like releasing magic via meeting the Vanishing Ink team at their session convention. Yeah. And it was all just happenstance. It was like I was there, I did a few tricks, word got round of those sorts of tricks, and then they introduced themselves to me, and then we basically went from there and built, a partnership initially with Level 1 and a few other tricks in the pipeline. But that was my sort of first kind of I can do magic as a career moment, because before that, I just assumed that all magicians create their own tricks and had their own methods. I didn't really realize it was a viable career path to sell magic. So that was how my kind of career started. And then going further back than that, I was always just interested in learning magic from a young age. I think I started with Marvin's Magic sets when I was a kid. It was probably about 6 when I had dynamic coins. My parents were very encouraging, and I sort of went up and down with the magic thing over the years. And as a teenager, I think 15, 16 years old, I started to take it way more seriously. And yeah, it was a private adventure for me because, like I said, I didn't have any friends in magic. I had one mentor as a teenager who was Bobby Bernard. Some of you might have heard of him. I met him at the Magic Circle Centenary celebrations. I was about 15 years old, and we got on really well, and he took me under his wing and mentored me for a few years. So that was kind of how I matured initially with magic. And then, from there, it's just been a pleasure to be involved in, creating and releasing and providing magic for other magicians, because I get so much joy when other people get to perform, when your work's performed by other people, it feels incredible. And it's just bringing a bit of joy to the world is the key here. So that's my kind of goal.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we most probably met then when you were 15, because we had a stand. Obviously, I wasn't 15 at the time, but we had a stand at the Centenary.
You look the same, Peter. You look the same. You've never changed.
Oh, mate, you say the nicest things. You really do. So, um, this is one thing that I don't really know. Are you? I know you can perform. I know you're great at sleight of hand. We see you on the trailers, so it's obvious that you can perform. You got a great way around people. Do you actually gig? Is that
Yes,
part of your? You do.
absolutely. Yeah. I don't do as many gigs as I used to. So back in uni, I was studying music, specifically jazz, and I used to do a lot of weddings playing as a jazz trio, jazz quartet, and I'd upsell the magic or vice versa. And at that point, I was just regularly gigging, all word of mouth. I'm not ashamed to say, no website, no publicity of any kind. It was all just like gigs that came from gigs that came from gigs,
Yeah.
and that was always in and around London. And I got to a point where I burnt out a little bit. I think I've spoken to Craig Petty about this on one of his live streams. That was therapy because I burnt out because I was basically just doing the same tricks for so long, and I was doing it for money, rather than, it got to a point
Yeah.
where I was just going through the motions and there was no challenges. So I decided to kind of only take on gigs that, were few and far between, that I could really enjoy working new things into my repertoire for. And so I've done a lot less than I used to, but I do gig. Like if someone offers me a wedding or a corporate gig or even just a charity event, even actually my local pub, I do Magic Mondays sometimes at the Havelock Tavern on Masborough Road. So there's a little plug there. But yeah, I'm always wanting to get myself out there, perform, try new things, learn a bit more about myself every time. And, I love performing. So
Yeah.
I do it as much as I can. Yeah.
So, as well as obviously doing your performance, creating new magic, you were one of the first, I believe, to have like a monthly subscription platform. Tell us a bit about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. So I run an online card magic. Well, it's predominantly card magic um, subscription service where I teach a couple of tricks every month to subscribers. And I think, yeah, a fair few years ago, I always sort of had the idea or plan to do that because I had so much material over the past decade and not necessarily knowing exactly where that material could go. I just
Yeah.
decided to put it all in one place. And that way I had total control over, the sequence or the chronology of the things that I teach in the membership as well, which allows people of all kind of levels to come in and gain something from it. So yeah, it was an initial idea. A few of my friends at the time encouraged me, who ran their own subscription services, and said it's a really great way to sort of be in control of your own work. And I haven't looked back since. It's got me through the last few years, and it's been fantastic growing this community. So I really
Yeah,
love
and
it.
it's all unique stuff that you're creating. So they're your creations, and they get to learn two brand new effects every month. Do they have access to older effects as well?
Yeah, so they have access to the whole library, and it's sort of like coming on a journey of a course in card magic.
Yeah,
And there's so much sort of variety there because I'm tackling different plots in card magic. Sometimes I'm taking old principles and applying them in different ways. And I think more the whole kind of vibe of it is putting my stamp on those sorts of plots and sort of teaching the way that I approach those different plots as well. And there's always something interesting in there for everyone, I think, in that way. But
yeah.
it's been going strong and it's growing, and it's great to welcome people on. If anyone wants to check it out, it's called Magic Monthly by Christian Grace. You just Google it; it take you to Gumroad, and that's where we host that's the platform we host the subscription on. So yeah,
That's fantastic. So,
thanks.
guys, if you want to learn some awesome magic, get yourself over to that. Google Christian Grace Magic Monthly.
Yeah.
So, we're here to talk about two effects in particular that you've just brought out with my friend Christian Schenk of Card Shark, who's kindly
Absolutely.
given Alexander the exclusive in the UK on them for a couple of months. And
Fantastic.
one of them you're going to perform live in a moment.
Yeah.
But before we get into that performance, let's play a trailer of the other one, because I want to speak to you a little bit about this. We'll take a look at that, talk about it, and then we'll go into the live performance.
Can't wait.
Right, here we go. So this is the trailer to Thought of Card to Box.
This is a gem of a trick, and I'm very excited to share it with you. And it's accomplished using many different separate principles that are brought together to make the effect work. So we'll try something quite fun and simple, but I think by the end of it, hopefully you'll feel the impossible. Now look, if I was to ask you to think of a number between 1 and 10, in fact, think of a number between 1 and 10.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
We didn't can you just confirm that we didn't prearrange it?
No, we didn't.
Isn't that amazing? Well, here's the interesting thing, and I don't want to break the illusion, because of course you could have thought of any number. Some numbers are psychologically more favourable than others. So I kind of just used that and I went with it, and it was kind of magical. Yeah. But this is the problem. If I ask you to think of a number later on, you might think, well, he just knew, because maybe most people say that number. Maybe. So we'll do this like a raffle. Just, you're going to grab out of the middle of the deck a bunch of cards, a small bunch of cards, and you're going to secretly count them under the table. So you count how many you have, remember that number, and that's it.
Okay.
Okay? So I won't look, the camera will keep me fair. If you just grab a little bunch, that's it, take them under the table, secretly count, carefully count how many you took, and then when you're done and you can remember that number, you can just throw the cards back, either on the top or in the middle or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you done it?
Yeah.
Great. So you now just have a number in mind that you didn't even know you'd be thinking of.
Yeah, true.
And this is what I want you to use to get a card in mind. So you're going to look at the cards one at a time and think of the card at your number. But you're not going to stop counting. So I'll give you an example. Let's say my number's 3. Okay. I'll take cards one at a time, look at them and count them. 1, 2, 3, this would be the card I remember because it's at my secret number, and then continue to count and try not to make any kind of signal as to what or where that card is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so is your number less than 10?
Yes.
All right, so take exactly 10 cards slowly.
Okay.
And just remember the one card at your secret number.
Okay.
I'm going to watch you
1,
whilst you do this.
2.
That's it, you can do it slowly if you like.
3. 4.
She's not giving anything away.
5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10.
That's exactly 10. Keep hold of those cards.
Yes.
So somewhere in that pile is a card you're thinking of. There's no way I could know what your number or your card is. And actually, I'll tell you there is no way, because you didn't give anything away. So you kept a really good poker face. So how am I going to do this? Here. Let's try something really special. Just think of your card.
Yeah.
So if I can take your card, turn it invisible, drop it into the box. It would have been really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been impossible. Like I said at the beginning, I want to try something impossible. But if you think about it, in order for something to appear, it has to disappear first. Bina, you will not believe this. The moment you drop that packet into my hand, the moment it leaves your hand, your card will disappear. Okay. And it will travel to that empty box. Yeah. So hold the cards above my hand. Think of your card. It's really important. And drop them whenever you want. 9 cards. Do you remember counting 10?
Yeah.
Look, there's now 9. I want you to look out for your card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
9.
9.
Yeah.
Bina, do you see your card?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Your card is completely gone.
Yeah.
Do me a favour, just lift the box and gently shake it. And because you haven't mentioned what your card is, you're just thinking of
not
this.
at all, yeah.
For the first time, tell them what the card is.
Heart of jacks? Jacks of
The
hearts?
Jack of
Jack
Hearts.
of Hearts, yeah.
I wish you could feel this.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
The Jack of Hearts. Bina, thank you very much.
Yay.
You can
Oh,
obviously
thank you.
keep the cards as a souvenir. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching.
Brilliant.
Thanks, man.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely love this routine. So I'm so proud to be putting it out and, you know, making it accessible for people to enjoy.
Yeah. So there is a question that I know we're going to be asked, and that
Right.
is, we've got a UK exclusive on another product, once again by you, which is any thought of card to pocket. Now,
Right.
I know both routines, so I know the differences. They've got a similar name. It's a similar sort of plot line, but there are some big differences between the routines. So do you want to go through, you know, the differences and maybe, you know, where you would use either one?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off the bat, both routines, the closest thing in terms of similarity is the plot of a card to an impossible location.
Yeah.
There's obviously a similarity in the name of each trick, but they are entirely different in terms of the methodology. And that's where these things are very beautiful and versatile in their own way. So a thought of card to pocket, any thought of card to pocket, is effectively where the spectator counts 10 cards, thinks of one, and in their hands, a card disappears. So they count the cards, there's 9 cards, and then that card appears in your pocket. Of course, you can make it appear anywhere around the room. You know, you have a situation where you can play around with how you reveal that card.
Yeah.
What I think is completely different about this any thought of card to box and why it's so special is because the conditions are the same. The spectator counts those 10 cards into their hands. One of those 10 cards disappears. But the difference is they get to see the box completely empty before the card arrives. And this is absolutely impossible, you know. They can inspect the box afterwards. And the routine and the construction of the routine has got those beats very, very intentionally in those ways to build up the most magical experience. You know, some effects have that beautiful inbuilt moment where you can actually bring awareness to that magic moment, and this is one of them. Yeah. And I worked really hard for many years, not just on the scripting and the construction of the language whilst performing it, but the actual beats of the routine. You know, when that box is shown empty, for example, I mean, that was something, you know, on and off. I wanted to show the box empty, right? But if you did that at the beginning of the routine and said, look, here's an empty box, then you're bringing too much of an expectation to that place and it feels like a trick. So it's like finding that moment to be able to show that box empty without it feeling contrived, and then having them obviously feel the magic where they shake it and they feel it first and it appear is just profound. It's a whole different level of magic. So they're the same kind of effect, but they elicit a very different response. And in terms of where I'd perform either of the two is actually situational. You know, if I'm seated with the participant, I would do any thought of card to box because it's a natural place to put the box. If I'm doing walk around and I'm standing with people, I'll often use their hands and I'll do any thought of card to pocket. And there's an alternative handling on that project that I use as well for walk around. But it's all taught on that separate project. Right. But what we're talking about today is any thought of card to box. And yeah, what you've just seen there is the full routine, which is...
It's great. You know, it's a lovely little effect. Lovely little effect.
I love it.
And
as card tricks go, I love it.
And the other thing I want to point out as well is there's a lot of magic going on in both of those effects for zero work.
Yeah, exactly. This is the beauty of it. It's the simplicity of the procedure. You're actually just having to remember, you know, how to perform the effect, you know, A, B, C, D. But really, it's not technically difficult. You know, everything is built in. The gimmicks that we supply for the any thought of card to box, that was kind of, you know, that we provide more than one gimmick for different decks. You can put them on a bicycle deck or a phoenix back deck with large indices. Is it called large index?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or with the regular standard index. So our goal was to provide the gimmicks for the routine and a very clear, in-depth instructional on how to set everything up, so that everyone can perform this, no matter what kind of ability you are. As long as you can follow the rules of the routine, you'll be able to do it, because it's not relying on any tricky sleight of hand or any difficult moves. It's very easy to do, and that was something we're really happy about.
Brilliant. So the other effect you're going to show us live. Now, I have seen this before because you performed it on me at Blackpool.
Right.
And
okay.
I loved
Yes.
it then. You performed it over at Card Shark's stand, because I think it was a pre-release then.
Absolutely.
And it's great. It's called The Bet. So over to you.
Yeah, fantastic. First, before I perform it, I just want to talk about why I love this effect.
Yeah.
This is a very, very strong opener. And there's always that vibe when you first meet people and they really don't know your skill level or your ability at performing magic. They don't even know what to expect. And so I always like to start off with a tiny sucker trick. And for those of you familiar with the circus card trick, this has got that vibe to it, So this is one of the main reasons I love it. And of course, I'll be happy to perform it. I want you to all be aware that this is not something I would perform over Zoom, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So Peter.
Yes.
Let's see if we can get this in shot as well. You might not see me, but you can hear me, right?
Yep.
So as I go through, you are going to stop me on one of these cards. So I'm just going to hand cards from hand to hand. Just call stop at any point you like. It doesn't matter.
Let's go now.
Right here. Okay,
Yeah.
So here. I would now hand these to you, and I would get you to look at the card you stopped on and remember it. Mm-hmm. So in this instance, I'm turned away, let's say. And of course, I absolutely don't know what that card is because you kept it secret, but I know roughly how many cards you said stop on. So I'll see if I can track that card, no matter how many times you cut. So Pete, you would reach out and cut this deck. It would be a fair cut. I would then add these cards in and say cut again, make it difficult for me. And each time I'm trying to track that card. So I know it's roughly in the middle. Now, if you cut like this, I know it's 22 cards up from the bottom. If you cut like this, supposedly I can track this card no matter how many times you cut this deck.
Yeah.
And here's the challenge. Let's see if I can find the card just through tracking. And I think it has to be one of these four. So I'm going to show them to you, and I want you to keep a poker face for me. All right? Don't give anything away. But I reckon one of these four cards has to be your card. So what do we have here? We've got the 4 of spades, the King of diamonds, the 10 of hearts, and the 8 of clubs. So one of these 4 cards, keep a poker face. We'll see if we can hone it in. Now, you didn't pay much of a reaction here on the 8, so I don't think it's the card. It's probably not the 10. She didn't react on that one. The king, potentially, I think it could be a diamond, so I'm going to park that here, and I just don't think it's the 4 of spades. So, yes or no, put me out my misery. Is it one of these 3 cards in my hand?
No.
Yes, so I've gone with the king of diamonds. Am I right?
No.
You're kidding me. Am I even close?
Well, it's a diamond.
Ah! Okay, so what's your card?
8 of diamonds.
Well, thank goodness these are all the 8s. I've never come near that. Here, I want you to turn it over. So at this point, they would turn this over, and of course, it's their card. So you have a massive.
So nice. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Right.
They're on their way from Card Shark to us now, so people can pre-order them on the site, or they may be in by the time this got live. I haven't watched the instructions yet, and I don't know what's going on. I think the thing is, I think I do, but the more I'm thinking about it, I'm going, no.
It's so
great.
fun. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you like it. I mean, I love it. It's such an amazing sucker trick. And with this, what does not translate on camera, it just doesn't, because my face isn't in shot. You can't see the expressions and the interaction. And there's no way I can perform it realistically on Zoom.
Yeah.
The way I do it in the real world. But this gets the same reaction as cards to box, where the magician secretly takes a signed card and sticks it under a box secretly. and there's that surprise moment of, oh my God, how could I have missed that? And the reason is, I don't normally say, name the card and then show that these are the eights. They already know that their card isn't here, and they know these are all different. And I actually teach the beat where I place these cards down on the table as the eights, but they don't look and they don't realize it yet. So the moment they say their card, I say, well, that means they all turn into the eights. So you get that moment where they suddenly realize, oh my God, I've missed something. But they know for sure they haven't kept their eye off this card that you pushed forward. And of course, that's the one they turn over. And it's just such a strong effect. And this is why I love it as an opener.
Well, there's a lot of magic going on there. There's a lot of magic going on there because
you've got 2 transformations.
Yeah. And very, very magical transformations as well, because it's very clever because your attention is being drawn from, because in my mind, as soon as you show me those 4 cards, I know you've messed up. That's it. And then, you put that card down and then you're making this big thing of showing me the other cards. And inside you're thinking, it doesn't matter what he puts down because he's wrong, but we'll play along. And then you just get these visual changes of the cards. It really nice. But like I said, I haven't watched the instructions, so I'm not sure of the skill level. I would presume the skill level is pretty minimal.
It's so anyone could do this. Like even a non-magician, you could teach how to do this. And we're all avid fans of the cross-cut force. I use that on the tutorial as one of the most basic ways to get into this effect. So if you're not comfortable doing a classic force or doing a Hofzinser force, again, which I teach in the original, The Bet. If you're not happy doing those things, then you can go to the most simplest version, which is the crosscut. And for those of you who don't know the crosscut, I cover it on the project. So the level of skill is just not there. It's a very easy trick to learn how to do. And the important thing is I clearly go through all the steps to perform the effect. So there's not too much to remember here. You're just following certain motions, really.
Yeah, just going through a sequence. That's the other thing I'd like to say as well about your tutorial videos is you do really go in depth. And, whenever we're doing a tutorial and whoever joins us to do a tutorial, I always say you've got to imagine that the person watching this has no idea about magic. So everything needs to be covered. And you do that very, very well. And I just want to say as well, and I know you're saying about the cross-cut force, a lot of magicians, once they've been doing magic for a while, they look down on the cross-cut force. I still think it's such a powerful force. If the routine you're doing it for makes sense to do that force, because obviously there has to be a time delay.
Absolutely.
But it's a powerful force. It's possibly one of the cleanest forces because they cut the deck themselves to exactly where they want.
It's stripping back to the very basic selection of a card. Everyone understands that before any card game, the cards are cut. And there's a reason for it, because it always brings a random card into play. Yeah. So it's the most basic kind of, it's the most basic conceptual, freely selected card you can have. Just from the beginning of time, it's like everyone's cutting to cards. People understand it. So if you use it well, and I talk about this as well in Magic Monthly, because I obviously expand upon the teaching of certain techniques. I have a few of my own thoughts on the crosscut force with regards to the idea of repetition as a tool in terms of how many times the cards are cut before that force is accomplished. So for those of you interested, obviously I expand on it in other ways in there. But yeah, for this particular thing, what I'm really happy about is the gimmicks that have been produced. Christian's done an amazing job at making these completely like smooth and easy to handle. My original prototype was clunky and because I made it by hand, the way he's done it and the way he's printed it, really, the gimmicks are printed beautifully, and I'm very happy with it, and I know it's going to bring people a lot of joy just to have fun. Looking at the audience's reaction whilst you sucker punch them twice.
Well, it's one of the effects that I'm really looking forward to getting hold of. And performing it. We'll be doing it on our socials as well. It's a great effect, and you know, I love effects where you have that unexpected kicker that's really impossible. You know, the fact that we all know the power of changing one card when you're performing on a spectator. Get them to select a card, do a double, it's the wrong card, it changes in their hand, they will go nuts. Now, to follow that up with the other three changing, I mean, that's
exactly. Yeah, and that's the other thing. You can choose which way round you reveal it. You know, you can get them to turn their card, it's changed, and then you can change the other three. Or like I do, I like to place it off to the side, have them name it, have my hands up like this so they know I can't interfere physically, and then have them realize somehow those three cards have transformed. And then you have that no way moment because the card's face down, right? So they're thinking, no, that can't be it. It can't be it. And they get to experience that turn. But yeah, you can choose which way you reveal it. And they're both a kicker of each other, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Yeah, I love it. And like you said, putting them down, if you put them down face up and not mention it, it's got that lovely moment like the old ball appearing on the cup in the cups and balls routine, you know, where people just don't see it.
They double take.
Yeah, absolutely lovely. Yeah. Well, Christian, that brings us to the end of this week's deep dive. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this time with you.
It's amazing, man.
Keep creating. You're bringing so many great effects to the magic community. Keep doing what you're doing because, like I said, in such a short space of time, you have become a creator that people really look forward to your next release. We all know, I mean, every time you show me something, and I'm not saying this because we're friends or you're on the deep dive or whatever, but every time you show me something, I like to sit there with the look on my face that I understand what's going on, where really in my head I'm going, what? The first time you showed me Switch 1, we were at the Magic Circle. And
yeah, remember.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I always try and sit there as if, you know, I've been in it a long time. I know what's going on. In my mind, I'm just going, work it out, try and work it out. What's he doing? I can't work it out. You always fool me, mate. Always.
Oh, that's such a nice thing to hear. And I do love magic for that reason. I think contextually performing for magicians who understand methods and being able to give them an experience of magic is actually a very special thing in and of itself. Yeah. So I don't take it for granted, and I appreciate your feedback. And it's been a pleasure. I mean, my sister lives in Ashford. For those of you who don't know, Peter Nardi, his Alakazam Magic shop, the brick and mortar shop, is based in Ashford in Kent. And I will come and visit you in person very soon, Peter.
Yeah, so please do. I'll get the kettle on.
Yay!
I just want to say as well, before we go, I'm very, very excited because after we finish this, you're going to show me something very special. I don't want you don't have to say anything about it, but I will say this is something that almost every magician I'm bumping into has said to me, you've got to get Christian to show you this. So can you even share the name?
Yeah, I can. So there's an effect, it's a mind reading effect called Enigma. So that's the name, Enigma. I've performed it a lot at conventions like the Session Convention, Blackpool. I've been at the Magic Circle pretty much every Monday showing people, road testing it and obviously refining it. But I plan to release it later on this year. So anyone that's interested, please just ping me a message. I'm on Instagram, Christian Grace Magic, or on Facebook, it's Christian Grace. Just send me a message and I'll keep you in the loop. But yeah, it's called Enigma. It's a mind reading effect. Someone thinks of any word and with pretty much no talking, just touching fingertips, you're able to divine their thoughts. So Yeah, after this, I'll show you. Even though we're on Zoom, you can perform it long distance. So I'll show you after this.
I'm really looking forward to it. And I will say, and once again, this isn't sales blurb because, you know, Alex Sam are not going to have it. It's you'll be able to get it directly from Christian. The words that I'm hearing from people is game changer, never seen anything like it, real mind reading, you know, and these are people that I shouldn't say should know better, but you know what I mean. These are people that are knowledgeable, that are coming in saying, I've never experienced anything like it. And these are people that you would usually expect to go, it's lovely, it's a bit of this, bit of that, but they're going, no, you've got to see it.
It's a whole new system entirely. I think that's what's kind of giving the shock factor to those in the know of these types of methods. But I've been obsessed with mentalism just as much as card magic, even though I'm not more public about, you know, performing as a mentalist, so to speak. But yeah, for like very long, like well over 10 years, I was obsessed with progressive anagrams and things like that, you know, where you're throwing out letters. So someone's thinking of a piece of information, maybe even from a limited list of things they can choose. And somehow by throwing out letters, we're able to sort of focus in on that. And I found a way of getting rid of progressive anagrams entirely, you know, and not having to have any awkward fishing, but literally asking them to imagine the letters in their head and touching fingertips like this. It's even more accurate than an anagram, you know. We can get into their mind, and think of anything like an animal, a country, an object, a place, a name. It doesn't matter what it is. We're able to decipher it very quickly and in a new way. And I'm very excited. I do think that this thing is going to be the foundations for other magicians to take further. And I think it will grow and grow. And I'm just very proud of this discovery that I had and how I've worked it and where we are now. So thank you for teasing it. And I do look forward to releasing it. So for those that want to look out for it, it's called Enigma. And you'll see some murmuring soon about it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, they'll mostly get some off me once you show me. So,
for sure.
So, guys, if you want to know more about it, you want to be kept in the loop with Enigma, send Christian a message and he will make sure you're the first to know. Christian, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. And absolute good luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Speak soon.
So, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this week's deep dive. That was the incredible Christian Grace. So remember those 2 items, or actually 3 items. We've got the Any Fault of Cards to Pocket, which is a beautiful little effect, Fault of Card to Box, and the Bet. And we've got the UK exclusive on all 3 of those items. So if you want to pick one up, pop over to the website and get your order in. And like I said, thank you for joining us. We will be back next week with another deep dive. But before you go, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified every time a new video goes live right here on our YouTube channel. So for me, or from me, Peter Nardi, have yourselves a great week. And if you're about on Tuesday, I look forward to seeing you on the live. And remember, this coming Thursday, we have got the live launch of our brand new product. So we'll see you hopefully Tuesday, if not Thursday, if not next week on the next deep dive. See you soon.